Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guys Mo Nawara in the Midwest, and we've got Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at an all-nighttime slate here on a Tuesday night in the MLB. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Have plenty of great content coming up for you guys into this fall. Also have that great odds checker tool on there. Make sure you're shopping the lines to the best of your ability across all of those U.S. sports books. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got, gentlemen, kicking things off on the Tuesday night slate. We've got the Orioles in Cleveland. Spencer Watkins taking on Cal Quantrill at home, -155 for the Guardians. St. Louis and the Cardinals. Dakota Hudson on the mound in Cincinnati, taking on Justin Dunn in the Reds, -210 for the division-leading Cards. The A's and Cole Irvin are taking on the Nats in Washington. Eric Fedde on the mound, -120 for the Nats in a game of basement dwellers there in Washington. Chicago and the Cubs. Marcus Stroman on the mound, they are in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman, -210 for Gausman and the Blue Jays at home. The Mariners and George Kirby are in Detroit taking on the Tigers. Matt Manning, -170 for the Mariners on the road. The Rockies and Jose Urena are in Atlanta taking on Max Fried and the Braves, -360, huge favorite for the Bravos there. Cutter Crawford and the Sox in a game we will talk about in Minnesota taking on Chris Archer and the Twins, -130 for the Twinkies there at home. The Stros and Framber Valdez are in Texas taking on Dane Dunning, -175 for the Astros. There's still some value to be found. We will tell you about that game. The Royals and Brady Singer are in Chicago taking on Lucas Giolito and the White Sox, -135 for Giolito on the mound at home. The Yanks and Jameis Taillon are in LA taking on Mike Mayers and the Angels, -175 for those Yankees. Another game we're going to talk about, Phillies, Aaron Nola in Arizona taking on Zach Allen. Good matchup there, -135 for the Phils on the road. The Padres and Blake Snell close things out in San Francisco. Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants in San Francisco, -130 for the visiting Padres there. Let's kick things off, guys, though, with that game we talked about with Framber Valdez and taking on Dane Dunning in Texas. Really nice matchup for the Stros. They're still -175. Is there still some value to be had, Nate? Kick us off in this matchup.
Yeah, I think if you use a correlation play and take the Astros and the under, there's plenty of value. It's +200 at FanDuel. I don't see there being a lot of runs here. Just the way Dan Dunning is able to churn out ground balls. He seems to have done well with that 2 times against the Astros this season. Walks were really the biggest concern the last time he faced him, but he's been great lately with that ground ball rate, well over 60%. It's 61% in right-right matchups all year. He's throwing his slider a ton, and Houston is -3, their rating against the slider since the All-Star break. So I think he can do a good job keeping them in check. I mean, Houston's been pretty reliable going under at home, 35 and 25 on the year. They've gone under in 3 straight now against the Orioles. And then on the other side of it, I mean, Mo is the president of the Framber fan club, so he'll tell you more about that. But, I mean, he in this particular matchup, 3 versus Texas this year and a .45 ERA. He's allowed 16% hard contact. His ground ball rates are 70, 45, and 65. So he's just mowing them down. It's not really particularly surprising when you look at this. The way this Rangers lineup is built, very boom bust, especially against lefties. So if they don't connect, yeah, they're grounding out pretty consistently. And Framber's just been a machine getting those grounders lately. You see the launch angle is about -6 in his last 5 starts, so not getting much production there from that.
Yeah, it's interesting that Framber has been so successful against the Rangers. I'm usually all about Framber, and I did have the Astros just like ever so slightly underpriced, but not enough for a bet here. But there are a few things that give me a little bit of pause that why I'm a little scared to bet Framber here, just because it's interesting that he's been so good against Texas because they actually do hit lefties pretty hard. We've been talking about that a lot this year. They're also like number 3 against sinkers in baseball. Obviously, that's a huge weapon for Framber. And they're bottom 10 in grounder rate, which maybe they can lift the ball, but I don't know. I guess nobody can against Framber. But yeah, Dane Dunning, like you said, he actually matches up decently against the Astros in theory, just as like a sinker slider righty. He's got a really, really big platoon split, 50-point career WOBA platoon split there. So it's not the worst spot for the Rangers, I guess. But for me, I have no chance I'd fade Framber here. But I could see if somebody would, but I think the under is interesting since Dunning. I think the market probably expects the Astros to score on Dunning, and it might be a little tougher than they think.
Yeah, I could see that as well, but definitely, obviously, you still favor the Astros no matter what. Just a matter of if you think that you can get some value on that one at this point. Moving on, gentlemen, to another game here, obviously involving Nate's team, the Sox, plus 116 in Minnesota, taking on the ageless Chris Archer. We got Cutter Crawford on the mound for the Sox here, Nate, and obviously still in the basement. So I'm looking for you to kick us off here with this one as well, and talk about your boys here with a total of 9 runs as well, that I would say. So I think there's a couple of different angles you could probably give us on this one.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about pretty good pitchers in all the other games tonight, except for this one. I'm a little shook after our reverse the fade on the Red Sox didn't come through last night. Being tonight as we record this, but they stranded a ton of runners. They had their opportunities. I think they will pull out the win here against Archer, who we highlighted as an easy target. His last time out, he promptly gives up 5 earned in 4 innings. You look at just his last 4 starts right now, the Z contact rate was 100% in 2 of those and about 95% in the other 2. So anytime he's coming into the zone, it's getting smacked. His slider is what he leans on. Maybe his best pitch. It was once upon a time when he was good. And the Red Sox are 4th best against the slider since the break. I'm not hating an over here, especially over in the first half, 4.5 runs, because Cutter Crawford also looks like he kind of sucks. When we were trying to back him in his last start, he's slightly better, but I mean the hard contact rate is up 10% since the break, 41% now. K per 9 ratio has dropped to 6. He has a 6.3 ERA on the road, and we know in his last 4 he's just been lit up by some pretty good offenses. Twins, they might get Jorge Polanco back here, but whatever lefties they have in there, I would think about some prop bets for those guys, because Cutter has been getting lit up by lefties. So Max Kepler, maybe prop bets there, maybe the over for 9 runs here if you don't have any confidence in the Red Sox, because I don't really at this point.
Yeah, I do like the Red Sox here. I don't think Crawford's any like great shakes. He's just like league average-ish across the board. Average chase rate, average swinging strikes, and a 3.99 Sierra. That's all just fine, but that's quite a bit better than Archer. 4.7 Sierra, 9% K minus BB rate. Not good at all. And yeah, Boston, like you said, they're solid against the slider. 8th best xWOBA against right-handed sliders specifically. That's obviously what you want to find basically against Archer, because he's so slider heavy. I think 44%. And yeah, Minnesota offense just not scaring me with Byron Buxton and Jorge Polanco. I think gonna miss the game. Their offense should be inferior to Boston's with the players out there. I would say bullpen and defense maybe do favor the Twins, but I had this as wrong team favored. So I thought Red Sox should be minus here, not by much, but anything like above plus 110 I think is very good here.
Interesting. Yeah, well, let's move us on then to the final game that we have, where we will have another couple of very impressive pitchers in the Phillies and Diamondbacks matchup, guys. We've got Aaron Nola on the mound versus Zach Gallen, who has been a stud. We've been talking about him pretty much each start we can. He's been the only bright spot really for that team this season so far. So, Mo, switching up with you, let's kick things off here with you and Aaron Nola and Zach Gallen. Are you looking at anything to do with a total, or do you like that minus 142 for the Phils, despite the fact that they are taking on a super hot Zach Gallen?
Yeah, not into the minus 142, I don't think. But I was poking around on a couple sites. Didn't really get the chance to look across the board. I did think minus 135 on DraftKings that I saw was good enough for a small play on the Phillies. That would probably be my cutoff for this one. Yeah, Zach Gallen's been tremendous, obviously. Like you said, we've covered him a ton on here. But man, Aaron Nola's just been better. I actually hit some Aaron Nola Cy props about a month back, but looks like that won't go anywhere because Sandy Alcantara just keeps firing complete games. But man, Nola's been tremendous. I mean, what can you even say? He's pitching as well as he's ever pitched in his career. And he just has a much better lineup backing him. Basically, I think more so than the numbers say. I'm still surprised the Phillies don't have better versus right-handed pitching numbers. I think when your lineup is centered around Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, I would expect better than this. They're just like around average, but obviously like that's better than Arizona. They're a cut below that. I do think of the Phillies as an offense that smashes fastballs, and then when I looked at the numbers, that was definitely true. Zach Gallen, 48% fastballs, so he's pretty heavy on the pitch that the Phillies usually feast on. That's pretty good for them here. I do think small value on the Phillies if you can get a good number here.
Yeah, I mean, you did just say to me the Phillies don't lose to bad teams as they're pounding the Diamondbacks tonight, but that was one that we were all over.
Slow it down. Slow it down.
It's not over. With
7-6 now.
Oof. Well, with Bumgarner on the mound, that's a completely different story than Gallen, who is just incredible. I mean, 2 barrels in his last 7 starts. He has 5 starts where he has not given up a single barrel. So tough on lefties, too. So you talk about Bryce Harper and Schwarber. I mean, it's a high ground ball rate. He does give up a decent 11% home run to fly ball ratio. Maybe they're able to get him for 1 there. But I think with the strength of these 2 pitchers, you want to reverse what I'm talking about with the Red Sox and say under first half, 3.5 runs. Pretty good odds right now for that. Maybe you like that better than under for the game because that Diamondbacks bullpen is bad, and I think that's what happened in Gallen's last start, right? Was they just coughed it all up, and then all of a sudden Mo had a bad beat in the 9th. But yeah, I think you back the Phillies right now with all their momentum. They're now hitting close to 300 over the last 8 days here with Bryce Harper back. Their offense is taking off, and Nola's numbers on the road are extremely impressive, especially when you look at the homer numbers, 1.39 home run per 9 at home at that small park, but on the road it's just 0.4, and now we're at Chase Field, which is pretty expansive. So I think that plays into his favor, and then the Phillies also have the huge bullpen advantage, so that's why I think it's worth minus 140 and down betting on the Phils.
No, I'm with it. I mean, they've built this team really, really well for their home park as well. Continuing to hit. I mean, it's a legit 3-team race. I mean, there's just above 30 games left on the season. And it's really anybody's NL East. I think the Mets are only have 3 games on the Bravos, maybe about 6, but the Phils are still in that the wild card race rather as well. So plenty of things still left. 30 games or so for most of these teams as we wind things down, as that is all the time we have for you in this one as well. So make sure you are liked and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. And until we see you next, happy betting.